I think firstly there's something around getting things right. So just this week, and Doug and I were talking earlier today, PPI has had such a big impact on banking, and the bow wave of the ending of that has really caused a lot of operational demands in the last few weeks, actually.
Yeah.
So I think continuing to get things right across all product lines, across the whole of financial services, driven by the board, by internal audit, but also obviously the regulators. So I think getting things right is important. Secondly, cost. So particularly with the impact on pricing, again, across financial services, there's a real need to make sure the OPEX side of the cost-income ratio, or if you look at insurers, the combined ratio, reducing the cost of doing business is still really high on the agenda. And I say thirdly, the impact of what the customer wants. So in retail and commercial banking, there's a real need for this always-on, very complex interaction with the bank at all times. I think that's going to continue to grow. But right across private banking and also into the equity space, the specialism of advice of what clients want, a really, really demanding customer. I see a number of things that are happening. So firstly, we're helping clients to automate, to empower the role of people within an organization. Looking at your signage of intelligent automation for a more human enterprise, I think we're seeing roles change within banks and insurance companies. So the role of the customer service agent, the relationship manager, the quant, the actuary, intelligent automation is empowering them to be more effective. So I think maybe a few years ago, it was very much around how do we get rid of admin to make them more efficient. And secondly, automate to protect, so to reduce credit losses, fraud losses, conduct losses as well. There's a lot of momentum around that as well.
Some of the technologies or capabilities that the banks have put in place is they want to be able to exploit those more. They want to use them across different patterns and different work styles than they have before and support different mechanisms. So I think all of this technology is coming together to be able to give them a much richer set of capabilities so they can go address wider and wider patterns in their business. Right now, if you look at RPA, there has been a significant take-up in that technology because it's highly accessible, it's very quick to go deliver ROI to the business. But I think it shifts bottlenecks around that business, and it's how organizations can start to connect end-to-end journeys is what they're looking at, and thinking about how holistically they can address their process problems. And also wider different types of patterns, as we intimated before. But being interconnected has got to be the way that banks are going to really connect out to their customers and ensure that their operations are going to be as smooth and profitable as possible.
Right across financial services, one example I talk about is in the business banking space. We're transforming onboarding for a client. Business banking, big growth area for many banks, making that onboarding experience really good for customers, but also, again, on the protect side, making sure the bank has the protection they need. So we're working together, where we're implementing Blue Prism to help automate a really, really important part of that business banking journey, maybe one example. And I think what we're seeing as well is we have our digital business automation software, which traditionally people may know as areas like IBM BPM.
Yep.
We're seeing clients wanting to use Blue Prism, digital business automation, Watson, and other intelligent APIs, and use them together, as Doug was talking about earlier, in a more end-to-end way.
If you look at most of UK, if not European banks, they've implemented some sort of technology around this automation space for a number of times, arguably have iterated a number of times across that and both fallen in and out of love of this technology. I think there is a renaissance about that. I think partly driven by the use of robotics. I think it's been a real injection in the arm of intelligent automation. I think if you look at our implementations at the moment, the different types of automation patterns have been, to this time, have been largely disconnected from this robot. So you'll have tranches of people working on robots, tranches of people working on how do I capture and manage content and connect it to processes and drive rules through my organization. But I think increasingly banks, certainly the banks that I'm talking to right now, how can I bring those together?
Right.
That's where I want to go next.
Right.
I've got a rich set of people doing robots. I understand what they are. I want to scale that now, though. And I think that's the implementations that we have today, whilst they work really well, it's about making those come together.
Yeah.
One comes to mind where you are the strategic robotic process automation partner for the bank. We're a strategic partner for conversational AI and other intelligent capabilities. What we're really doing with this client is where they're going through a big transformation, they're using different capabilities to address those challenges. So, for example, I talked about onboarding earlier. There's also complaints handling, there's collections, there's the challenge of the whole credit risk life cycle. In that particular institution, as they move to their new operating model, their interaction with customers is through things like conversational AI is a new channel, a really important channel that interacts with their web chat, which does have people interacting with that. They may be in the middle and back office where, Doug talked earlier around executing tasks and making things happen. There's a combination of Blue Prism with some IBM software and other software as well that we're helping engineer for the clients. And then right in maybe the management information space, there's intelligence around how the bank is performing and also what the market is saying. So things like ongoing due diligence. The private banks may traditionally do this in a very manual way. People talk about manual Google searches and things. We've got software we can deploy where every hour of every day we're monitoring all of our clients in terms of open data that's out there. It's maybe the front office, a very different dynamic than maybe transformation 10 years ago. The middle and back office, things are processed in a different way. And the overall intelligence across the enterprise, I think we're working really well together to help that particular institution move forward.
We have a technology relationship. What that means is that our engineers have shared lots of knowledge about how our processes, how our products work, how our capabilities work, and try and work out how can we help clients make it easier to connect those two worlds together. If I have a robot that maybe breaks because of some data, how do I manage the human escalation that comes a part of that? How do I manage the complex logic that maybe varies, that changes on a cadence that's much faster than any development path usually can take? How can I abstract that, manage that, and scale that robot so it can cope with the changes in the market? So we've created capabilities that start to allow you to bring those things together much easier than before. You want to be able to glue those together with a point and click type interface. And that's the stuff that we're bringing to market together.
Okay.
I think the benefit is that they're going to be able to increase the speed of delivery across a broader and richer set of business problems that they have before. I think they're going to enable their workforce, the citizen developer, to be able to bring those technologies to bear and not rely on a bank of IT guys to be able to do that. Let the IT guys go focus on the real big mission critical core processes and systems of the bank whilst enabling, a wider and wider people. So I think, John mentioned it before, a lot of emphasis certainly around automation is how do I take cost out of my business? And absolutely it's going to do that. But I think newer capabilities and the combination of the two things together are going to open the lid on what opportunities can I maybe now uncover? How can I drive those opportunities further?
I think there's maybe a legacy interpretation that RPA robotics addresses legacy technology challenges from very disparate infrastructure, particularly within the big legacy banks. And I know Dave Moss, your CTO, talks about systems of record and how RPA can help put a bit of glue around processes that interact with that. It's going to empower this step change of moving away from the sort of legacy fixes to, again, like I was saying, automating to protect, and automating to perform. So it's giving that CXO suite a much bigger capability to be able to achieve that. Blue Prism, phenomenal brand and company, really started off robotic process automation. I look at IBM, a real trusted technology integrator, advisor, delivery partner for our clients. We have our intelligent automation, we have cloud, Red Hat, and we're really focused on the cognitive enterprise, something we talk about a lot. So I think together we can really help clients achieve that objective of becoming the cognitive enterprise. I think on a more pragmatic point, a lot of our clients may have Blue Prism, they may have some IBM software, particularly digital business automation software, and they're kind of separate software suites, maybe not being fully utilized, big investment in that space. And I think working together, we could help clients really maximize the value that they get from that software suite, but really to achieve business outcomes around that empowerment, protecting, and and performing.
If you look at some of the primary challenges people are facing around automation, how do I capture all of the information that's coming through all of those multi-channels? One level, I might have a conversation assistant that I go and engage my customer with. I might be capturing pieces of paper. Paper is still reality in the world today. It might be that I've got electronic streams of information coming through. And IBM have got some great technologies to go do that, but they don't mean anything unless you action them. Blue Prism have fantastic robotic technology that in the first instance can start to go and enrich some of that capture of information and also trigger update or fetch of data from systems. Once I've started actioning that incoming information, how do I manage that? And if I can do that straight through with a robot, fantastic. But maybe the robot sometimes is brittle in terms of how do I handle some human interaction, an escalation or an exception. And that's where workflow and case technologies can start to really be a spin-off from driving some of those processes through an organization. So we see that working both together as a part of delivering an overall process and calling a robot, but also the robot escalating out to a human-oriented process if we need to go do that. A robot is simply another agent for computing work. It's another digital worker, and we need to make sure that all of the management information from doing that work through that robot needs to be brought together and combined with all of those other patterns I have. So now I've got a picture on my business. I understand how my business is working. How now can I exploit that data to optimize that business even further? If I set aside very specific things like how I'm going to be able to cope with the changes in LIBOR that's about to hit our world. Yeah. If I was a CEO and a COO, it would be, I have a lot of data about how my business operates. How can I use that data? How can I be smarter about all of that digital exhaust that I'm collecting? How can I deploy it in a way that allows me to have better and more enhanced conversations with customers? How can I use it to design digital workers that intercept the work that I'm doing and be better at helping them make decisions, help them gather information better, help them sort them through the richness of that data and really target how do I go and engage a customer. A lot of the times we talk about cost, you can only cut so far before you hit bone. There's not really a ceiling on opportunity, right? I can push a long way if I do that. So flipping the coin around and going, let's see what the opportunity is. How can I exploit this rich stuff that I've got?
I think there's something around cutting costs and making simpler the way you currently work. And I think there's a big opportunity to work in a different way. The CXO should be thinking, if you use the Uber example, when is fintech, open banking, challenger banking in the banking space, when is that really going to impact us? And I'll give you one example I foresee that if you look at mortgages, you have property search and you have lending and credit risk, very, very separate. I envisage a future where through augmented reality, we're looking for properties or commercial businesses are looking for properties. And at that point in the customer journey, they'll be provided customers with dynamic, new intelligent credit risk prices at that point. Yeah. So you might look at a property over there, one over here, and as you're looking at that in an augmented reality way, the intelligence that the company has on you, that they have on that property, they can give you actually an indicative price right there and then, and maybe more than an indicative price. So I think there are current powers across the current value chain that will start to erode. And I think there's maybe the challenge is how do you reimagine, re-engineer your business completely? So rather than just constraining yourself in how you currently work. So maybe not a worry, maybe as an opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. I think artificial intelligence, or maybe more specifically things like machine learning, are going to help us start to move away just from using predictive type rules, but also predictive type capabilities, so we can start to think about how they inform the decisions that we make in an organization. We're going to start to use AI to mine that corpus of data that we've talked about, to be able to hone the robot to be even smarter about what it goes and does, or maybe hone the capture orientated so I extract the real information I want off of a document because I'm seeing that I'm missing some things in the processing, right? So I think AI is going to really help us at the engaged level, at the enrichment level, which then will allow the things that action this stuff, the Blue Prisms, some of the workflow, to really drive effective business, I think.